Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I think it's recording now. All right. So I am Gabby Canoe. I'm the volunteer management agent for Harris County. And we have a practicum student with us from UT School of Public Health. And his name is Jonathan. I'll let him introduce himself because he will be giving this wonderful presentation on aging and empathy.
Thanks so much, Gabby. Hello, everyone. I just thank you again, first and foremost, for joining us for this session. As Gabby kindly introduced me, I'm Jonathan. I am currently I go to the University of Texas Health Science Center as a master's public health student. I focus in community health practice, and I also work currently in the seniors department in Harris County. In our presentation today, we just want to talk to you about empathy because we know we hear it a lot, but in ways sometimes we want to help people understand like how they can put that in practice. So this presentation is about
Jonathan,
yes.
yeah, I think your microphone is causing crisp sounds. Maybe it's rubbing up against
Oh,
your
is that what that?
clothes.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard something once in a while.
I think
Okay,
it's his
yeah.
mic rubbing up against his clothes. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
sorry. Is this better?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Sanja.
Yes.
But yes, so this presentation is talk about how we can build empathy and show empathy to others. So we'll go ahead and get started. So what is empathy? So empathy is the ability to view the world from someone else's perspective and see it from their shoes. It's also to kind of to understand what they're feeling and what they're going through and to let the other person understand and how you're feeling and what you're you understand what they're going through and also to appreciate them as they are right there and now because a lot of times we're like, hey, we could have done this, we could have done that, but just letting them know like, hey, look, it happens, it's okay, we're here to support you. So empathy is a way for us to put ourselves in their shoes, so in understanding what they're going through and just mindfully listening to what they're going through. One of the examples I'll give to you is, as a manager, sometimes we, our employees may come 5, 10 minutes late. They come in or late. So sometimes we're quick to be like, oh, they're not, they may not, they're not being professional, things like that. But sometimes people have things going on. Like one of my team members came in late because they had a child who was sick and they couldn't make it and they had to make adjustments to their schedule and find accommodations. So it's important for us in empathy to just put ourselves in their shoes and understand, maybe something else is going on, because sometimes we just look at things at the surface level, but we don't look what is happening within, mentally and internally what's happening with people. So how can we be more empathetic? So it's important to practice when people are speaking with you, when people are talking with you, is to not interrupt the other person. Sometimes when people talk with us, we kind of want to share our knowledge, share our experiences, and let them know like what happened to us and what we've done in the past. But when we're trying to be more empathetic, let the other person speak. Uh, Let them share their experiences. Don't be so quick to interrupt the conversation. So it's one of the things that it's important to know is we don't have to have all the answers right away, and silence can sometimes even be more powerful because it allows us to process, allow the other person to process what they're going to. So when you're trying to, someone's talking with you, you can to make sure they know that you're listening to them is to paraphrase or summarize by repeating what they've said to you. That way they know that you understand. So one of the things that I do to make sure I'm understanding what someone is saying and I'm making sure someone else knows I'm paying attention is to say like, hey, it sounds like you're saying this, or uh, that way you can you're trying to confirm like this is what you're telling me. I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So it's really important just to let them finish and just reiterate share with them back what they have shared with you. Now, as I said before, what else can we do to be more empathetic? And that's also to not jump to conclusions or jump to kind of like decisions for them. So, as I said before, sometimes we're quick to like allow ourselves to like, oh, they could have done this, they could have done that, and we don't really allow ourselves to be mindful of like what's actually happening. So it's important that before you start reacting emotionally to what's happening or what they're saying, sometimes that can get in the way of what is being said. So really try to focus on listening and don't assume that you know what's going to be said next. So it's important to approach each conversation with an open mind and just kind of be mindful of our own biases. So it's important just to listen and just be really receptive to what they're saying. Now, I know, as we said before, sometimes whenever we get, some things that's relevant to us and we want to provide our feedback, what happens is sometimes we start planning what to say next, and when we start doing that, we don't really give ourselves the opportunity to listen to what's happening because we are so focused so focused on preparing what we want to say to them. So it's important that when you're listening, be open, listen with a blank slate. Don't start formulating your responses when the person is speaking, and allow them to finish talking, and then you take the time to respond. So this is not a race, this is not to, uh, like try to finish their sentences. It's just a time for you to listen to them and allow them to finish what they're saying. So also what's important is, is not to impose your opinions or solutions. So when we're trying to be empathetic, we're not trying to, fix their problems. We're not trying to, uh, this is not like to provide them solutions. So it's a point of when we're being empathetic is to lend a supportive ear, as that can be more rewarding to someone than telling them what they should do next. So like when a loved one has health problems, this is a time to, and it's just time for them you want them to share with them what they're going through, how they're feeling, and to get these things off their chests. It's not a time to provide them advice on what they should be doing or how it's going to be resolved. So it really sometimes in order to be empathetic is just to allow people to come to their own solutions, but just allow them to talk through, because sometimes as time goes on, as they talk with it, they'll figure it out themselves, but this is now a time to help them reflect on their feelings, allow them to open up and what they're experiencing. So, if you really want to share something, with someone about like something that's helped you out, you can say something as, would you like to hear my suggestions, or would you like me to share my experiences, if they're looking to do that. But it's important that when people are talking with us, not to immediately, try to fix it, because empathy is about listening and putting yourselves in their shoes. Now, what kind of like when we're trying to be more empathetic, these are some of the open-ended questions that we can ask someone to kind of help them explore their feelings and kind of to open up. One of the biggest things that we do not want to do is ask yes or no questions, because that's not going to allow us to, explore what they're, feeling. So open-ended questions allow others to think about more deeply about what we are asking them. Asking such questions helped others share their best thinking, perspectives, and insight. And they also help ensure that people feel respected and heard, and that we're listening to them. So, if you're not really sure if you've understood correctly, always wait until the speaker pauses and then say something like, "Oh, how did that make you feel, or what else are you thinking, or did you mean that, or I'm not too sure if I understood what you were saying or what you're talking about. So always use open-ended questions to uh, talk with them and help them navigate their own feelings. And because this allows them to expand and helps you understand and relate to them better if you're allowing them to open up. Now, I'm sure as y'all look in here, there are some responses that are not empathetic and in ways can close off, conversations, and in ways kind of allow other people not feel better about themselves. So here are some of the responses like cheer up, suck it up, try not to be so depressed, stop feeling sorry for yourself. You know, these are responses that kind of close off these conversations and now allow us to support others. And in ways it's, you know, we can see this when we have our conversations with others. If you say these things, sometimes, people can be defensive. They don't want to open up because, it's as if you're making them feel like, you don't have it as bad. So, but understand, it's important to understand that everyone takes situations differently, and we just need to give them that platform and be able to relate to them and allow them to open up. So it's important when you're talking with someone not to use these phrases because that can close off the conversation. So always try to avoid these phrases because these are words that don't allow us to, get to know someone better and look at it from their perspective, and ways can result in them feeling worse about themselves. And also communication is not just about the words that are being said, but also our body language and the nonverbal cues that we give them. So some of the things that we can do through our body language um, to let the other person know that we are actively listening to them is make sure you make eye contact. Nod your head to show that you're listening. Put your arms on the side, not to cross them, because usually when we cross them, that means it informs others like, hey, I don't want to be here. I really don't want to listen to you. So it's important to, even though we are sometimes naturally accustomed to doing that, sometimes it gives the impression that we don't want to be there. And so it's important to have open body language, and that's how you do that, by not crossing your arms. And one of the things that's important to show also is to point your shoulders and feet towards the person. One of the things that I know my family does, and when they want to go or they don't want to be in the conversation, they'll point their shoulders towards the exit. So that kind of lets other people know that, hey, look, I don't want to be here. I want to leave. So it's important that to make sure you're facing the person, feet towards them, shoulders toward them. That way, you can have that open body language. Also, mirroring their body language and tone is kind of like, whenever you're interested in someone, you mirror their body language and the tone. And lastly, the biggest thing to do is to put your phone away and remove any distractions. Because once you're looking at your phone, you're typing in the computer, you're playing with something on your desk or on your table, the person doesn't think you're listening to them. So it doesn't feel like they don't feel important to you at that moment. So it's important. I know we can get very tempted to look at our phones. It's important to put that away. That way people know we are actively listening to them and we're here to support them in any way that we can. So the biggest thing to note is that empathy is not something that you're born with. It is a muscle that you can build, that you can strengthen, and that you can grow. So don't feel like, it's going to take time to develop. As you can see in any skill, in any, when you work out or when whenever it's like you're drawing, these things take time to develop. We're not going to have a natural ability to do these things. But with the open-ended questions, the responses, and the body language that we provide you today, hopefully you can put that in practice and help build this muscle. But because it can be something that's very powerful, and it's a very, essentially nowadays, It's a very important soft skill to have when you're interacting with your coworkers, when you're trying to build relationships with your loved ones, or if you live in intergenerational homes with like a grandson or a granddaughter. It's important to be able to relate with them, and empathy is such an important aspect of creating social connections and developing relationships. So know that you don't get it the first time, it's okay. Start putting in practice, and because you can build it and it'll get stronger. And as long as you're more mindful, as long as you're being mindful of yourself. Now, what are some exercises that we can do to build more empathy? So what we can do is to listen actively. Practice by active listening is how you can do this, is by reformulating the message to the person who just said this. You can do this with anyone. Perhaps you can start off in very like low risk situations. That way you can get a better feel for it. You can talk with the cashier and be like, hey, how's your day going? Observe their nonverbal cues. The key with active listening is to really focus on the intended meaning and the feelings of that person that you are interact with. So you can do this with a cashier or someone, when you're like a mechanic shop, or maybe with a coworker. So that way you can start practicing and building upon that. Also, what you can do is to read fiction. Research has highlighted a strong connection between literature and enhanced emotional skills. Whether it's primary school students or avid readers like the former U.S. President Barack Obama, fiction in ways tricks our mind into thinking we are part of the story. And the empathy we feel for characters wires our brain to have the same sensitivity towards real people. So this is grounded in science. So people, when you're reading stories, when you're reading fiction, it allows us to kind of, understand what that character is feeling in ways, and then ways that we can apply that to our real world interactions. Also, what we can do is practice mindfulness. Sometimes when we, it's and sometimes we're so quick, things kind of go 100 miles per hour for us, so we have so many things to do. Sometimes we need to just take time to be mindful, and we can do that by meditating and focusing on the here and now. So we just need to be present with the situation and just listen to someone so we can emphasize them. So just being mindful is just being here in the present moment, not worrying about what's happened in the past, what's happened in the future, just being here at that time for that person. Another way we can practice empathy is to explore differences, explore different cultures, explore different perspectives. Put yourself in an environment where there are people from different backgrounds, like going to different community centers, going to different enrichment activities and art, or going to cultural festivals, or maybe you can go join a local community outreach group or volunteer in a charity shop. Immerse yourself in the different diversities or different cultures that we have here in Harris County and Houston, because we are a huge melting pot, and there's so many great opportunities for us to connect and learn about different cultures. In ways, once we learn about different cultures, we open ourselves to be more empathetic to other people. And lastly, remember why you want to be empathetic. Maybe it's because you want to, as we said before, connect better with your grandson or with your children, or maybe you want to be a better leader at the workplace, because empathy is such a strong skill to have, and it allows us to better connect and understand where people are coming from. So it's important to remember, why are we doing this in first place? So let's exercise. So we won't do the 5 minutes that you do. How about for 1 minute? I want just to sit in silence and just think about what we are grateful for. Or maybe we could think about people who have helped us in the past. Silence is just a powerful tool to have because we're always, talking with everyone and we're hearing so many different opinions. But for 1 minute, when I say go, let's just take time to really think about someone who has helped us in your life and something and how much we truly are grateful for they have helped us. So I'm gonna starting on go. We're just gonna take 1 minute to just think of that person who's really helped us in our lives. So go. All right. Well, that was our 1 minute. Hoping that you were able to think of someone who's truly helped you and you're truly grateful for, because sometimes in life we get so wrapped up in all the things that we have to do or things that could have happened that we don't really appreciate the people who have been there to support us. So I thank you for giving me that minute of your time to reflect on people who've helped us. So how else can we build our empathy muscles? And volunteering. So volunteering is empathy in action. Going out to help underserved communities, to help people who are in need, that allows us to be more empathetic because we're putting ourselves in their shoes, we're experiencing it from their level. So it's important. So one of the things that we can do is to go out in the community, volunteer our time, and in ways, empathy, volunteering allows us not to build more empathy, but it helps us build confidence within ourselves. So now I want to pass it over to Gabby, and she'll let you know how you can volunteer with Texas AgriLife.
Alrighty, can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I'll just briefly talk about how you can volunteer with us. I'll start with 4-H. 4-H is the largest youth organization in the country. This is a great way for you to get involved with possibly your grandkids or just involved in your community. You have to be 18 years or older or 21 or older to help chaperone if you want to do camps and just pass a background check and go through our training. And you can get involved in helping with food and nutrition, shooting sports, all sorts of wonderful activities that that interest you, and you can help grow that interest in a youth. Another way you can volunteer is with our Master Wellness Volunteer Program. This program, if you have an interest in health, wellness, like physical activity, just living healthy, this is a great way for you to get involved. It's 40 hours of education and training that you receive, and you have to serve a 40-hour internship along with that. It's a wonderful way to give back to the community. I've tried to get my grandmother to sign up for this because she's a pharmacist. She has all this information. Hopefully, she gets, she signs up for it. Another way you can volunteer is to become a master gardener. We have a large master gardener group here in Harris County. It requires 72 hours of training, 60 hours of volunteer service. So you will be active, you will be socializing, you will get knowledge. If you have an interest in gardening, this is a great way to volunteer. And the last one I wanted to highlight was our Master Naturalist program. This program, I think it's almost about the same as Master Gardeners. It might be a little different, but if you have an interest in wildlife and entomology, all sorts of things. This is a great program for you as well. So those are just a few highlights. If you want any more information, I will leave my contact information in the chat. And I will turn it over to Jonathan, who will tell you about more volunteer opportunities just in general. So take it away, Jonathan.
Thanks, Gabby. Thanks for sharing all that wonderful information and having these different volunteer opportunities for people to be involved with. So there are other ways you can also volunteer. Go to food drive, food pantries, all right, toy drives. You can, in ways, if you have a special skill, maybe you can go out and teach skills to other seniors or other youth. You can have a pet because having a pet allows us to, build those connections. You can tutor youth, or maybe you want to just go to a local library or a fundraiser and see what they're doing there. If you are part of a church, maybe you can start helping out at the churches. Or maybe you could just help someone build a home. There's many, in Houston, some individuals are still unfortunately going through the effects of Hurricane Harvey till this day. So there are a lot of people who I know, I've talked to many people share their stories of how they're still living in different hotel rooms because their home is still being fixed up. So there are definitely a lot of different ways for you to go out, but the important thing is you volunteer to help others when you're able to go out there and go kind of push yourself outside your comfort zone. And that makes you more realize like there's so much more we have to learn, and that's a good thing, because sometimes we need to unlearn the things that we have experienced and make sure that we continue to learn things to make ourselves a better person to help others who we care about. So really, as we had talked about before, going out there and seeing how other people live gives us a better understanding, allows us to better connect with those outside in the community. So before we end this presentation, I am a huge Fred Rogers fan. He is amazing, and I love him. And I just want to share this quote with him because I feel like this really sums up what empathy is. And that quote is from Fred Rogers: "Love isn't a state of perfect caring; it is an active noun like struggle. To love someone is to strive to accept that person exactly the way he or she is, right here and right now." And from what this means to me in regards to what Fred Rogers was trying to say is this is not to say that we can't improve or better ourselves, but it's important for us to accept the people that they are right now, so that way, we can understand the struggle, that we can understand what they're going through. And it's important for people to know, like, hey, we may not be where we want to be, but we still care for you, and we still want to be here to support you and understand the struggles and the tribulations that you're going with. So, and that's what empathy is. It's accepting that person for how they are right there, right now, and then to know that we're there to help them every step of the way. And sometimes people don't have that act of kindness. So empathy is really, one of the kindest things you can do because people are feeling heard and people feel like they matter and they feel like their emotions aren't being brushed aside and there's someone to go through every step with them in their pathway to life, because life can be complicated, it can be tough, but empathy allows us to make things better, not only for ourselves but for the people, for others. So that is the end of our presentation. Really, just thank you again, everyone, for joining us and giving us this time. Hopefully, you were able to have information. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Gabby and myself. We're any ways we can support you and help you out. We are here to be here for you. So, but thank you again, once again, truly grateful, appreciative of the time you've given us out of your busy days. And we just hope that everyone has great and safe, happy holidays.
Yes, thank you all so much for attending. I love this presentation. I I think my inspiration for working with Jonathan was my grandmother. I've learned more about how to empathize more, just knowing her and being with her. Um, so yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed it. Do y'all have any questions, comments?
Jonathan and Gabby, I think you guys did a wonderful job putting this presentation together. I think the information is very timely because, we're going to be with family members and one of those slides, I think the older generation, they just had a different, it's almost like they were taught to be hard,
Mhm.
Mhm.
get over it, move on. And the younger generation, we are learning to empathize, but at the same time, we have to understand how they grew up and the way that they were taught, and we have to have patience and empathize with them. And it's not about trying to change their perception, accepting it, and just understanding that they were just taught in a different way. I know that's one thing that I struggle with. And in the past, I've tried to just change my mom, who's 82, but I have to realize that she's from a different generation. Her upbringing and everything was totally different. So I think this was a wonderful presentation. The information was accurate and very timely. Thank you.
Thank
Of course.
you.
Thanks. Sounds good. And thank you, Gabby, for putting this and just giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And there's anything, I talked to Gabby. I did share this presentation with leadership to see if we can do this at the precinct one centers. But yeah, there's anything that you feel like that needs to be added. I think you made a great point about like, hey, sometimes for seniors, sometimes they're like ingrained and like they endured so much, and maybe we can add something about that. But yeah, if there's anything else that we can add into it, or you feel like that'll help out or make the presentation more uh, or better, just let us know. But yeah, but thanks again for just giving me this opportunity to share this.
Alrighty, I'm gonna stop recording.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.